Hello there, vinyl community and YouTube. This is a very special year celebration. Might call it some kind of a continue to the celebration I did a couple of videos back for Vinyl Corner Mikko when he celebrated his 40th birthday by wanting us to show records from 1977. That one was not a real year celebration, it was a birthday celebration. But this time I got a little bit of a lust for showing more in the same style. So doing a real year celebration from the 70s. And a year that is very close to my heart when it comes to the 70s. It's very strange, the reason, because a couple of years back when I just started to listen to the 70s again, to collect, when I decided that I'm going to start collecting the 70s for real now, back in 2014 I think, I started to go through an entire season of a radio show, a hit chart show that was from 1978, called Poporama. Strange kind of a chart, because they didn't show which kind of places the songs were on, for obvious reason. I'm not going to go into right now, because then it will be a long speech of how Sweden was in the 70s. But let's say that it was a strange kind of hit chart show from 1978 that I listened to from January to December, all shows from that year, and through that I got a lot of great inspiration of new songs from 1978, from the 70s, that really made my interest from the 70s grow so much more. And I've tried to collect so many records as possible from that radio show. Haven't found nearly as much as I want. But to celebrate a great year from the 70s that I like very, very much, I wanted to do a special year celebration from 1978. So not nearly as much classic albums that were released as in 1977, but still a lot of great albums that were released, and I hope many of you recognize. Not only I've shown some of these before, of course, here at the vinyl community, but you might recognize them as favorite of yours, maybe. Nostalgia from the 70s. And starting as usual with vinyl singles, even though I don't have just as much vinyl singles from 1978 as I usually do in a year celebration. My vinyl single collection from the 70s is a little bit small. And I'm starting off with one of my absolute favorites from that year, a song that really is memory from when I listened to that show, and really is a really great song, sadly forgotten today. A really cool disco track, Supercharge, with I Think I'm Gonna Fall in Love. Interesting here is it produced by Robert John Lang here. So of course it's going to be a lot of different styles here. La rock, it's going to be some 70s soul, of course, synth pop, singer-songwriters, and soul shanger, Real Thing, Can You Feel the Force. And we have here special release. This is a re-release, but Barry Manilow, ready to take a chance again. Ready to take a chance again. Barry Manilow, not one of my absolute favorites, but that song is really, really good. This one was a complete blind buy that was really, really good, that I bought last year in the autumn. Fotomaker, Where Have You Been All My Life? And of course, got to have some Earth, Wind & Fire. They didn't release an album this year, but they released a couple of singles. We have September, and we have also one of the singles from All in All that was is from 1977, but the single was released in '78. Fantasy, a classic. So let's move on to the full-length vinyls. 70 Soul first. I've shown this one a couple of times. I think it's a great one. Peaches and Herb, Too Hot. Featuring Seger, Groove Thing. Really, really great and funky soul album. Highly recommended. 1978 was the musical birth of many today consider 80s musician. Some see him as a Ghostbuster, even though I think his career was a lot better before that. Ray Parker Jr. and the debut of Raydio. I think Ray Parker was a whole lot better when he was in the radio than after he did the Ghostbusters. It felt like he had some kind of a feeling that he must continue doing in the same style as Ghostbusters were, and it didn't make him better. But during his time in radio, Ray Parker was magnificent. This is a soul artist that I hadn't heard of ever, and it was complete blind buy, and it was really, really good. Eddie Horan, Love the Way You Love Me. And speaking of soul, of course, we got to have some 3 Degrees and New Dimensions. With this album, 3 Degrees moved on from Philadelphia, unfortunately, because it was so great, to Arista, and was produced by Giorgio Moroder. That was... I remember buying this at the record fair, a little bit scared, because I was scared that they would sound a little bit too much of Donna Summer style. But they were a whole lot better. So this one is a really great one. Really like the woman in love, and The Runner is such a great song. So really great 3 Degrees album. Bought in Stockholm, the Commodores, Natural High, consisting maybe one of the best songs that Lionel Richie ever have written, 3 Times a Lady. And they're not counting as soul, of course, but it is a smooth walk over to other styles. Of course, gotta have some Chicago. What would a 70s celebration be without Chicago? 1978 came Hot Streets. Maybe not Chicago's absolute best album, but still a good one, really great one. And we have this album you can more or less find in any second-hand store here in Sweden, and sometimes those records that you find everywhere is very much sadly forgotten. They deserve a whole lot better because they are actually pretty good. That goes with this album that I bought for 20 cents in Stockholm. Andy Gibb and Shadow Dancing. I really like the title track. This album has, of course, Bee Gees written all over because it's produced by Barry Gibb. Most of the tracks. It's not all of the tracks. I think all of the tracks. So it's a really great Bee Gees influenced album. What about Bee Gees then? Well, I have a single here from 1978 with the Bee Gees. Really great one. Too Much Heaven. Thought it was good to have it here instead of among the other 7-inch because we're talking about Bee Gees. Synth pop from the 70s, not as ordinary. I showed Kraftwerk in my 77 video. 1978 was a time again. Man Machine with the song We Are the Robots. And also the song The Model. Really great one. Might even say that this one is a little bit stronger than Transeurope Express, but still both are really great. And of course, another pioneer in the genre, Jean-Michel Jarre and Equinox from 1978. This one, compared to his most famous one that came before, Oxygen, this one is very much influenced by Baroque music, so you can hear some elements of Bach and so on in some of the songs here. A really classic. Now moving away from the synth pop, we have Elton John, Single Man. Maybe not one of Elton John's more famous albums, but it contains a great song here called Part-Time Love that I think is really good. Coming into some singer-songwriter albums, of course, 70s, we got to have some Carole King. How would it be if I didn't have a Carole King when I'm doing a 70s album? A 70s video. 1978 Welcome Home was released. A really good one. Maybe not her absolute best album, but I think still is a really great 70s album. And an album bought at the Record Fair in Solna this autumn. England, Dan and John Ford Cooley, Something Don't Come Easy. Heard a lot about on them on web radio. There's a web radio channel called Pop Goes to 70s. I played a lot with these guys. I got really interested in the music and wanted so long to have an album with them. Finally, I found this one. Highly recommended. Really great one. Also, coming in now to a lot of bands, classic bands from the 70s with great albums. Very much in pop rock style. Bob Seger and the Silver Bullet Band, Stranger in Town, also bought in Stockholm, containing a great song called The Famous Final Scene. I love that song so much. Listen to this one, and it's a really great album, really well made. A little softer, Atlanta Rhythm Section and Champagne Jam, containing a song called Imaginary Lover that I think is a really good one. We have the debut of a band that I have discovered pretty late, the past following years, but it's a really great one. The debut of Sniff and the Tears, Fickle Heart. Driver's Seat, of course, here, among others. I think this is a really great album. And maybe one of my absolute favorite bands from this year. Also a band that I connect with me listening to this radio show Poporama, because they were played a lot there during 1978. The Motors, and approved by the Motors, and of course they're here. Their biggest hits, Airport and Forgot About You, and Airport is one of my favorite songs from the 70s, as you might remember from my 10 from 1 from the 70s. And one of my absolute favorite albums from the 70s, 10cc Bloody Tourists. And I have here another band, Dr. Hook, Pleasure and Pain, containing When You're in Love with a Beautiful Woman. Gotta have some 1978, of course. Baker Street is on this album. City to City, Gary Rafferty. And finally, some instrumental softs to end it off. Earl Klug has shown this in a very recent vinyl CD update, I think. Magic in Your Eyes. So, and I usually name the song that was the most selling single in Sweden, and I have checked it out, and I'm going to do so now also. I can't show that one because I don't have it, nor do I want it either, because I think it's a very cheesy song that I always had a tough time listening to. I never liked that one bit. And the most selling single in Sweden in 1978 was John Travolta and Olivia Newton-John, You're the One That I Want, with I think 36 weeks on the Swedish hit charts, the official Swedish sell charts for singles, and spent 6 of those weeks on at number 1, I think. And I've never been a fan of that song. I think it's pretty horrible. But that one was the most selling single that year. So everything wasn't perfect in '78, I guess. So I hope you enjoyed my little nostalgia back to the 70s and 1978. I think I will do a little thread response to John Bellamy and his top 10 of live albums. I think it's a little bit much top 10 now for me, but because it's coming also with top 10 of the 90s from 10 from 1, and also soon it's time for another vinyl CD update. So I have a little bit to do in recent weeks. So until next time, I hope that each and every one of you have a really great time, no matter where you are and what you do. So take care everybody, and so long.